All right, this is the second part of our customizing a MetaHuman tutorial. If you haven't watched the first part, I'll link it here. There's going to be 3 parts. So this is part number 2. Enjoy.
All right, so I have projected my details and I've got a bunch of errors. All right, this is why we saved our morph target. So I'm just going to start holding shift to smooth. Now I'm holding shift to smooth, and I'm actually RGB smoothing too. I'm going to turn that off. It looks like I've got my original MetaHuman skin on here. That is because I've actually got my texture map on. So if I turn that off, see, it's gone totally dark. I think that's because I've got layers on, yeah. If I turn my layers off of recording and turn my texture map off, oh, there we go. No, it's still black. Yeah, layers and, oh, you know, it might be because I projected with a layer on. ZBrush really needs to fix the poly paint layers thing because it is still a hot mess. All right, let's just go back into recording and we'll project the texture paint after we fix all of this. So it doesn't really matter, I guess, that I'm smoothing RGB because there is no RGB information, but I'm smoothing out all of this stuff. And it's just a big hot mess inside this mouth, so we'll fix that in a second. Another thing I can do is go down a subdivision level. If these aren't moving fast enough, I can also use my morph brush for stuff like this. So I'm going to go to BM, and I've got my morph right here, and I can scale it down, and we can kind of push that back and then smooth. I'll go down a subdivision, and let's just smooth that out a little. Smooth that out. I'm just using my morph brush to paint back that. So sometimes these, you can see like there's the tip of this polygon that's been stretched really far, and it might be going through geometry. Okay, that one isn't. And sometimes it's going through geometry that you don't want to smooth. Now this character isn't extremely detailed, so I'm not smoothing out, you know, skin pores, which would be a real pain in the butt, you know, if you projected, you know, high level detail. But if you've done that, what you can do is you can go in and, like, let's say I want to maintain the detail on this lip and I need to smooth all of this area out. You can mask where you want to keep your detail and then paint these polygons, and they're all kind of in the corner of the mouth. So you should be able to keep most of your detail if you do that. To get inside this mouth, I'm going to hold Control Shift to draw out a mask, and I'm going to mask out this mouth. Now I can see into this rat's nest of a mess, and I can start smoothing all of these crazy polygons. So another thing I like to do, you know, unless I'm actually transferring a detailed, so the reason that changed so much, I'm just going to undo that, is I've got my morph brush on. So I could smooth and look, it's kind of moving it, but I hold my morph brush and I move all of those polygons back, which, you know, that's awesome. That's a lot of work done right there. Again, I've got like a razor's edge on this piece of the mouth that I need to fix, so we will fix that. Let me going down a division. So when you step in between your division levels too, you'll see that the errors will pop in and out. Like I just divided again. So you've got to, you know, if you go down a division and you smooth it and you think it's okay, make sure you redivide back up. Just because that error is still going to be on your higher subdivision levels. Like I just divided again and it's a total mess right here. Alright, so I'm smoothing and it's not getting enough work done, so I'm going to use my morph brush and just push this all back. I'm going to go down a subdivision level. smooth. And this is just kind of the process right after a projection, and that's why I kept the mouth open. This would have been even more of a mess if I had a closed mouth. Having the mouth open also allows you to mask this stuff out if you've got detail sculpted in here. So there's a lot of good, a lot of things. It's really helpful to have an open mouth when you're trying to project. In my everyday workflow, if I know I'm going to project, unless I'm projecting like high level details like skin pores, I want to start my projection before I even put my details on. So, about this much detail in a sculpture, if I was doing photorealism, this is where I would want to start my projection so that I'm doing all my detail sculpture on the finished mesh. And it just saves you so much time. You don't have to rework stuff. So the best time to do this Z-wrap is about midway to 3/4 of the way through your sculpt before you start adding the finer details. Okay. All right, so now I've got these they're colliding and I don't know where the end of these pieces of geometry are. So I'm again going to isolate just this, and then I can see if I look inside this craziness. So I can use my morph brush and push this all back. Go down a division level and smooth that. So the same thing I did with the mouth. We're just going to go through the levels and see. And it looks like we cleared that all up. That's great. All right, now we've got some issues down here. And this is all under this suit, so I don't mind just full on morph brushing this back because this isn't even going to be seen. And I can go down to my lowest subdivision level and just smooth this to get it so that these polygons are a little more evenly distributed. Okay, so we've got our full projection. We're done. We're ready to send. Oh, no, we're not done. We've got ear issues. Now, the ear is also a place that's not too big of a problem for me. I do like not having that overlap right there. Oh, it is. Okay, so those are just thin polygons that are sitting on top of each other. Let's just smooth that out. This is a stylized ear anyway. It doesn't need that issue. Okay, here I'm going to turn symmetry off. I'm going to hit X. No, I don't want to morph. There we go. That geometry was just down through the ear. Okay. Let's do a once over and just make sure I don't have any. I'm at my highest subdivision level. Don't have any polygon issues. This corner of the mouth is an issue for me. I'm going to fix that before we head over to Maya. So I'm going to create a new layer, and this is going to be mouth fix. And we're going to, I'm going to close the mouth too. I need to close it back to where it matches. Yeah. So let's go down a division layer. I want to go to my inflate brush. I'm going to hit BI. Use my inflate. Let's make sure we've got our symmetry on. And I just want this a little bit. I'm just fattening it up and then smoothing it out. All right. So because it was just turning into this little blade, which is what we did not want. And it's also the way that it's meeting this lower lip is kind of weird. So I'm going to go to my move brush and go down another division level. Let's just get that spot. There we go. Okay, that's a lot better. So let's close the mouth too. Oh, and for some reason, now that I've gone through my subdivision levels, my ears decided to be a little weird again. Okay, that's fine. So let's go up to our highest subdivision level. Fix this ear. So if you ever see a pinch point, let me just undo that. If you ever see how I'm smoothing and it's going to a little point, like a pinched point right there, that polygon. If I let go of shift after I start smoothing, it'll relax the polygons. All right, let's go back up. So we're at our highest subdivision level. And you know, the reason that I'm only at 6 million polygons is because this character is so stylized. There's not, you know, a lot of high frequency detail in here. I don't have skin pores. I don't even have, you know, the lips, the line of the lips. This is a Fortnite style character, so I don't need all of that information. So I don't need to keep my, you know, this, if I divide this again, it's going to be a 24 million polygon mesh, and I don't need 24 million polygons for this level of detail. I don't want to over bloat my scene. It makes bigger save files, it takes longer to load, all of that stuff, so I can keep it streamlined, and this is all the information I need. I'm going to make another layer. This is going to be closed mouth, and let's go ahead and I'm going to hold control and go to my stroke and just go curve. And if I hit my alt key, I can change that curve. And I want to grab all of the jaw and the mouth. Okay, so I'm gonna hold Shift D to just lower my resolution on my character. And now I've drawn out another mask curve, and I'm holding Alt to get rid of that mask. And let's go ahead and get rid of there. Get rid of there. Oops. And I'm gonna smooth out the mask. I'm just flipping both sides so it's nice and smooth. And let's double check. I want to make sure I don't have any of the upper lip when I move. Right up in there. Sure, we're getting rid of that. Perfect. Okay, I think that's gonna work. Let's go down another division. Yeah, right there. I'm gonna hit W for move. Let's just center it for now, and then I'm holding Alt and hitting the little like you are here map icon. Now I'm holding Alt and I'm gonna move it right to where the jaw is. It's symmetrical, so it's actually moving too. I could hit X and turn my symmetry off and move directly from the center of the geometry. Either one will actually work since we're moving directly forward. And then we just want to close that. Now I can see that the lip is moving a little bit funky, and maybe I do want. So I'm gonna go down another subdivision level, and I'm gonna blur this mask just so I'm getting more of that upper lip moving. All right, that works. Okay, so this is going to be, I'm going to save my, I haven't saved my ZBrush file. Let's definitely do that. something else that I've found at least helps the loading and saving process is making sure that all of your geometry is at the lowest subdivision level when you save. So you're not trying to load a 24, or 60 million polygon mesh into ZBrush. Excuse me. Okay, let's just have a look at where everything else is. So I'll hide that. So now we've got this is our MetaHuman mesh within our sculpture, our custom sculpture. Okay. So now I'm ready to send this mesh over to Maya. Another thing I want to do is I want to send the eyes. Now we're not going to use these eyes. We're going to use these the Maya eyes, or our MetaHuman eyes, but we're going to use the position of these eyes. So let's go ahead, and I want to use this poly paint for these eyes too, since this is a stylized character. I want to use this poly paint that I've already painted. All right, let's send this over to Maya. Turn on our eyes. You can see since this guy was at the top of the stack, he got the name. That's why I keep this primitive at the top of my ZBrush stack, just so it catches the name and everything else can be what I named it. I should name these two. Let's go ahead and rename. This is gonna be, head LOD mesh 1 is LOD mesh 0, mesh 1 is what I want that to be. So I can just hit escape. I'm gonna name this. So I never have to even, do anything to know which is which. All right, so these are the only two meshes visible, which means I can go Z them over. Or I can export them as an FBX. I do want this mesh to be at its lowest subdivision before I export it though. Alright, so let's go ahead and I can say FBX export. Visible, ASCII, let's say export. And we'll go in Magneto ZBrush, let's say meta head 01. And you know what? I didn't transfer our color maps. And now that's the beautiful thing about me making a layer is that so when I did the mouth closing, I made a layer. So I can turn that layer off. Let's go ahead and transfer those color maps really quick. I can always export that later, the color map if I want. I could do this later, but I just want to show you. So let's go to let's go ahead and divide this up. And I can say, I'm turning the recording mode off of closed mouth, and then I can open that mouth. And I can show this guy now they're in the exact same position. And I can go to my texture map. Let's turn that off. And let's go to our layers. And so now I'm going to say, with white, I'm going to say fill object. Okay. And then I'm going to go to subtool. select this guy. I'm going to hide my eyes because I think they'll project too. I think it's anything visible. And now we'll go to project, and we're gonna make sure that this mesh is as high as it can be because it'll transfer more. It'll transfer more polypaint information. So I'll turn geometry off. All right, autosave is done. Let's project. I hate this color only, so this shouldn't take too long. I'll be right back after this autosave finishes. It's not giving me a time slider. I'll be back when the color projection's done. Alright, so I have finished projecting my poly paint from my custom sculpture onto my MetaHuman mesh. I've got some errors. Unfortunately, I can't paint them out while I've got my layers. And if I turn my layer on, it's going to completely delete my information. Even if I turn it back off, that projection's gone. So once again, ZBrush, poly paint, and layers is a dumpster fire. So what I'm going to do, because I want to keep this color information, and I've projected where my lips are, so I want to be able to, I need to close this mouth, right? So I can go to texture map. Ooh, sorry, not morph target. I can go to texture map. I'll say new from poly paint, and that's going to create a texture map with these UVs. Now there are these errors. We can fix that pretty easily though. So I'm going to go to layers, and I'm going to turn back on, and there we go. Now you can see it's closed and we've got the texture. The texture is a texture map though, so I have not painted, I haven't painted away the errors, especially in the mouth, and those are going to be pretty visible if we do any animations. So I can do that in Photoshop, or I could do it here. So the way I would want to do it here is I would probably want to bake all. Yeah. Man, it's the amount of extra steps because ZBrush and poly paint don't work. It's really frustrating. It's like an extra 10 minutes of work that's just, even if it's an extra 5, it's completely unnecessary. So I'm going to save. And now that I've saved, I'm going to bake all of my layers. So let's just say bake all. And I can, with this texture map, I can click here. I can say clone texture. That's going to send it over to my texture panel. And if I turn my texture off, it's going to go all black. But then I can go into my color and say fill object. And that's actually going to use my texture as poly paint to fill it. So now this is a poly paint again. It's such a silly workaround, but that's what we're doing. I'm going to hold shift to smooth and turn off the add and turn RGB on. It's just going to smooth the colors there. And I'm going to isolate this. So now I can see where that error is. So color grab right here. And I don't want to be on move. I'm going to go back to my standard brush, turn Z add off and RGB on, and we can paint this out. And that'll do for that. And we can also paint out this neck area. It's not a must, but why not? While we're here, I'll just color grab this red. And let's go ahead and paint that out. Alright, so we've got our poly paint from our character on our MetaHuman. I'm going to show my eyes, and I'm going to say, sorry, I'm going to show my eyes, not just select them. I'm going to go to my lowest subdivision on both. I can just hit all low here, and that's going to switch my subdivisions to the lowest for both of those. And let's go ahead and in our FBX exporter, I've got visible set, I've got ASCII 2020, and I've smoothed my normals, and let's export that. And I had previously named mine MetaHead, but it didn't have the texture, so let's just do that again. Yes, I want to replace it. All right, so let's go to Maya, and I've still got Maya open, and let's import that mesh. MetaHead 01. And there it is. And you know, I actually want all of my, I want my entire character in here, so that I can put him in the right position, right? I don't want to move my head without moving my body. I want to get this all sized and in the right position. So let's go ahead and go back to ZBrush, and I'm going to save this. And this is already rig 02, so I don't mind saving with this new information in there. I'm just going to hit Control S. Now I want to go to my, I want to show everything. I don't want to send this original head, and I want to send everything over to, on the lowest subdivision, I want to send everything to Maya. So in my GoZ, I'm just going to say visible. There we go. Let's GoZ everything over to Maya. And it did not GoZ everything over to Maya. Okay, I'm going to close this version of Maya. And I'm going to open up Maya 2023. For some reason, GoZ is another squirrely thing that does really odd. Yeah, it can do some really funny stuff. Alright, so let's just go to a blank Maya, and let's GoZ visible again. First launch ZBrush will, I've used GoZ before. Well, you know, I did update it, so maybe that's the issue. It looks like it's working. There we go, beautiful. Okay, so this is my entire Magneto. Got the head and the body in the right place, so let's go ahead and export this as an FBX. Okay, so you might be thinking if we open our MetaHuman DNA file that we saved from 2020 into 2023, it might work, but it does not. I've tried it. The DNA is broken. So from where you send it from Bridge is what um, is the application that will have the working DNA. Unfortunately, so I'm gonna go ahead and before our next MetaHuman tutorial, I'll fix that. So let's open up our project. And we had MetaMagneto 2, full Rego 2. So since this file has so many blend shapes and all of this, the MetaHuman DNA information, it's always, it always takes longer than you would normally take to load up a Maya file. I'll be back when it finishes. All right, so I've loaded up my MetaHuman. This is the MetaHuman I sent over from Bridge. It's the original save. So if I look at my base controls, I can see this is all from my MetaHuman creator. So it's looking pretty similar, at least, excuse me, the facial shapes are looking pretty similar to my finished model. I mean, they're close enough. So let's go ahead and import our finished model. We'll create a blend shape and for the head, and then we'll rig up the body. So I'm going to import the full body that I just exported from the GoZ from ZBrush. It's in my okay. Okay. So this is the entire suit, and I created a display layer before I exported it. So when I export it, it's got a display layer. I could always create it in here, but it just makes things easier. I can just drag, select everything, create a display layer, and then that is a part of the FBX information, so I can easily hide it. Now, I've got my body LOD layer right here and my head LOD right here. I'm gonna hide all of that. And this control rig, or this control all of these face controls are actually geometry, believe it or not. So if I go into show and I say hide NURBS curves, it's not going to do anything. And of course, I don't want to hide geometry. I don't want to hide my or unshow my geometry. This doesn't actually hide it. I don't want to unshow it from this camera because then it'd be super hard to work. So what I want to do is create a display layer for all of these controls too. And these three little guys down here are actually our lights. And I don't really want to hide them or do anything with them. I just kind of want them to stay on, illuminating my character if I want to look at him with the lighting on. So I'm just going to go ahead and go down to show and turn my lights off. So now I can't select them. They're still there. They just are not visible to this camera. So they're not hidden from the scene. They just are not visible to this perspective camera. All right, so I'm going to go into display. I'm going to say show all. And that's going to give me all of my rig controls, my facial controls, okay? And I want to add them. Now these down here are different. These are part of the body rig. There's some aim there's some locators that are helping drive the body rig. And if I go into my rig folder right here, this is geometry, right? If I open this up and I go to geometry group, I can see my head LOD. So this folder labeled rig is the body. So here's the body, here's the head. Now the rig setup group is the one that's these guys right here. So I can hide it. I could also add it to a display layer. And that's what I'm going to do. So every time I show, I go display show all, I don't want this thing popping up. It just gets a little annoying. So I'm going to add that to a display layer. I'm going to call that rig extras underscore layer, and then just hide it. Okay. And now I'm going to grab all of my control stuff, and we're going to add that to a display layer too. We're going to name it control layer. And now I can hide that. Okay. Now this is just the from the eyeballs aiming to the center of the control. And since I hit display show all, this is visible. But if I go into my face control and change this look at switch back to 0, even though it's at 0, I'm going to hit 0 again. And that look at's going to disappear. I wanted it visible though because I wanted to add it to this control layer. But if I hide this, you're going to see, oh, I guess since I turned off that look at control, those NURBS curves went away. There's those curves, you can hide them or you can turn curves off if you want. You can say show and unshow NURBS curves if you want. It's not a huge deal. All right, so let's show our Magneto body. I want to save a new version of this. Actually, let's go ahead and import the head first. All right, so I've got Magneto. No. There we go. Magneto head. No, that's for ZBrush. There we no, for ZBrush again. That's merged from ZBrush. There we go. Oh, and that's my entire. That's GoZ'd everything. Now, I want this guy right here, and there's a specific reason I want this guy because I went through and I made sure that I hardened my edges where I want them. So I went through this file and made sure all of my edges were hard. And if we look at these gauntlets, you can see that the edges are not. This gauntlet looks kind of soft. Now my baked normal map will help, but in lighting, it just helps. Unreal Engine, no, these are hard edges. Create that style of shadow, right? You can see that it's much different here. So I just want my my head and eyes here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna delete this helmet. But I want my eyebrows too. And now I can say we've got our Magneto from ZBrush. I'm going to right click the display layer, say select all objects, and then I can just control deselect the head and those extra guys, and now I can delete everything. All right, so they're gone. I'm going to grab all of my head elements and we're going to rotate them 90 degrees. There we go, perfect. Okay, so now I've got my head. If I hit 6, I'm going to see my textures if I want them. Now I could also apply the MetaHuman material here in Maya to his face. I'm going to use this face as a blend shape though, so the original MetaHuman head is actually going to be his head. This is just a blend shape to change that original MetaHuman head. So no need. I mean, it's just extra work at that point. All right, so I want to go ahead and show my body LOD0 and my head LOD0. Now you'll notice something interesting. That is not the head, and that is not the position of the head that we had. All right, this is a default. I'm going to just hit Alt-H to hide everything but my selection. This is a default MetaHuman that goes out with every downloaded MetaHuman. It's just hiding. So when you say display show all, that's when he shows up. He's normally hidden. He's in this body group. And he's that guy combined. Okay, so you can use this as a base mesh. You know, if you want, it has the same UVs. If I go into my UV editor and click my mesh, I've got my UDIM UVs where my 0, 1 is my face and my what would it be? My 1, 1? No, my 0, 2 is my body. All right, so these are the exactly correct MetaHuman UVs, and it's got the exact same topology. So if you want to use this as a base mesh, you absolutely can. I'm going to hide it. Well, I'm going to go Control-Shift-H to show last hidden, which is everything, and just hide him for now. We will actually use him later. We're going to transfer our weights from him, because he's rigged. He's fully rigged. We're going to transfer our weights from him to this Magneto body because the neckline will match up perfectly. Because if you see, we've got a torso, and then we've got we've got a bust, and then we've got our body, and they're separated. So if I want to transfer weights from the body, everything above this line right here is going to be blank. So transferring weights from that full character, you get information all the way up to the neck. All right, so what we want now is we want to line up our Magneto character perfectly with the face of our MetaHuman, okay? So I'm going to scale and move him until I get his eyes and nose pretty closely lined up. So let's see. I'm going to hide my LOD0, and all right, we've got Magneto suit. No, that's fine. Yeah, let's go ahead and just select everything. There's a reason I love display layers is, I mean, it just makes everything so much easier to navigate. So I'm going to Control G, which is going to group everything. And this is just going to make sure that my move and scale all operate uniformly across this entire mesh. Now, when I Control G, oh, sorry, I grabbed a locator down here. that's a part of my rig. I need to hide that. I don't want to group that. That's gonna possibly mess with things. Okay, now I'll grab everything in Control G. One thing that the grouping does though is it centers your pivot at the 0, 0 on your grid. So it's not at the bottom of his feet. I could be a stickler. Maybe I will be. If I hit insert, I can move my pivot, and I'll just move it down to basically the bottom of. Now I'll hit insert again, and now my pivot is exactly at the bottom. All right, so let's show our, I'm going to go back into perspective mode, show our body LOD 0 and our head LOD 0. And let's go ahead. Now I don't want to move my character's feet to the exactly where the feet are. I want his toes to be exactly where the toes are. So if I hit 4, I do have toe geometry in here. I'm gonna just move it down, get it close, right around there. So this mesh is gonna be going below the grid. That's okay. Let's just double check these two. Yeah, that's good. All right, now I need to go up and let's check the face. So I need to scale him down. I'm going to scale him down so that he's closer to. So I've explained this before, but if you scale or move, I'm scaling, in all directions, X, Y, and Z. Once I activate that operation, I can click down on my middle mouse wheel and drag left or right, and it will continue to do that operation, even if I don't see my my scale icon in the window. So that's a good scale for me. Now I just need to move it into place. So I'll hit W to move it forward, and again I can just middle mouse now that I'm closer. And to me right now, the eyes are going to be the most important. Yeah, because the mouth is going to have the eyes really far from each other. The mouth, for me, seems to be easier to fix the blend shapes, and we will be fixing blend shapes. So yeah, I like to try and align the eyes. And the base of the nose is pretty much right on, so I'd say our scale, maybe we could scale him. Let's see, where's the corner of the eye? Yeah, maybe we could scale him up just a touch. If I'm being really persnickety, let's go. Okay, now that I've scaled, I can middle mouse. I think that's perfect. Okay, awesome. All right, so now I'm ready to go. One thing I want to make sure I do though is I'm going to freeze my transforms on this group, and I'm going to freeze my transforms on all the geometry just to make sure there are no transforms. I definitely don't want transforms on my head geometry because that's going to be my blend shape, and so that could be a problem. All right, so I'm going to move my head geometry to the side. I'm going to go ahead. These eyes are a little off-putting. Could hide them. That's fine, I'll leave them. All right, so now I want to create a blend shape for the head. So I'm going to grab the head geometry. I'm going to grab this is my sculpture from ZBrush. Now I'm going to transfer this blend shape to my MetaHuman. So I'm going to grab my head geometry. I'm going to grab my MetaHuman, and I'm going to go into, need to be in modeling, can go deform and then blend shape, and I can say add, and add this to an existing stack. So I can say specify node, and we can go down to head LOD mesh 0 blend shapes. I'll say apply, and now if I open up my shape editor, I can say Windows, Animation Editors, Shape Editor. It's in another window right now. Now if I go down to the bottom of this head LOD mesh 0 blend shapes, I will see a Metamagneto 40 wrap prep 02. Now the blend shape took on the name of this mesh. So I could have named it first if I wanted to, but I'm going to name it now. And we're just going to say custom underscore head. Okay. If I had multiple characters that had these kind of custom blend shapes in a scene, I would make sure that I designated what character's blend shape this was. So this would be custom, Magneto custom head. I'm just going to name it custom head for now. Enter, and now if I set this blend shape to 1, you can see that it's taken the shape of, and if I go into my 5 view, he's all buck-toothed because his teeth are super far forward. So yeah, now let's just hide the helmet for a second so you can see. This is a MetaHuman. If I turn on my control and move, I've got my MetaHuman controls, and the mouth's looking pretty good for being that far away. And if I grab my eyes, they're looking great. If I open up my mouth, all right, so the edge of the lips is looking a little pinched here. Now we can fix that with our blend shape. But I've got an animatable customized character ready to go. All right, we do need some cleanup, but he looks just like our original. All right, so I've got my blend shape. That's great. I'm gonna go ahead and hide my control layer. And now you can see I do have those herbs. Now I can hide them again just by turning off that look at control. It's down here on the bottom right. I can just set it back to 0 and they'll go away. And I'm not going to bring the lashes along for the ride. The lashes are not going to come. I'm going to hide. These are Magneto's eyes. I'm going to hide those for a second and just I'm not going to bring along the fluids for the eyes. These what is it? Eye edge. The like lacrimal or it's so my eyes are in not a good. They're not in a good position. I need to move them, and my teeth are also needing to be moved. All right. Although Bucktooth Magneto is pretty magnificent. So let's do the teeth first. Those are going to be fairly easy to do. I'm going to create a new blend shape just for the helmet. I mean, I could actually just hide the whole suit for now. And I don't need to see the body right now. I'm going to hide the head. And I'm going to select vertex mode. And you're going to see that it actually gives me the saliva first. So the teeth has this saliva model over it, and this just creates a more realistic shine. This is a very stylized character, so this isn't a big deal, but I'm just going to show you how to move it, all of it anyway. So I want all of this vertex information. So everything needs to be selected. And now I can go into my shape editor for my blend shapes and go to my teeth LOD blend shapes, LOD 0 blend shapes, and I can say add target. All right, that's going to create a new blend shape and it's going to turn it on to edit mode. So now I can edit these vertices and it will be a blend shape. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to Control Shift H to show last hidden, and now I can move these verts back and it's a blend shape. All right. So I know that in most cases, the top teeth reach right about the bottom of the lip. And I've got a lot of information going on here with this rig, so I'm going to say show. We're just going to hide those joints in the camera view. And I think right about there, maybe just a little farther back is perfect. Okay. So that's going to look pretty good. Let's show our control layer and open our mouth to see what our animation looks like. All right, the bottom teeth are pretty hidden. Looks like they need to come back a little bit. And the top teeth are fine. All right, so I want the bottom teeth to come back. Yeah, a bit. Now I still have edit mode set on my blend shape, so whatever I do to these vertices is going to be basically recorded, right? It's so I can keep changing them, and once I'm done, I'll just left click this edit and it will turn edit off on my blend shape. So let's go into vertex mode, and I want to move my bottom vertices on my teeth. Something I can do is I can turn symmetry on. So I'll say object X. That'll just help me select things. And now if I hit shift and the period key, I can grow my selection, but it's just going to be across the geometry. It's not going to cross up to the top teeth until I grow it past there, right? It is moving my tongue and it is moving my lower mouth, the bottom of my mouth, which I want. I want those to move too. So let's just move. Let me, now if I move it like this, I'm going to get some vertices that are going to kind of crash and share each other. Let's grow that a little bit bigger so I've got, well, that's looking much better. But I don't really want to collapse verts on each other, or, have these collapsed faces. So if I hit the B key, that's going to turn soft select on, and it's just going to move things a little smoother. All right, I'm thinking right around there, and now I can move this back too. Turn B off for this. Okay. It is interesting that these those bits are not laying on it exactly. Dang it. I don't want to paint skin weights. I keep right clicking and grabbing that. I want my vertices. I'm just going to bring these forward a little so that's visible too. Perfect. Okay, so I can Control Shift H to show last hidden. I'll grab our rig and open up that mouth. Alright, my teeth need to come back a little bit farther. Now, this is a good practice in also understanding your sculpture, because I projected this character's mouth from my sculpt, and the inside of his mouth needed to be, this lip needs to not be so thick on the inside. I could have sculpted that further back a little, and then the back of the mouth needs to be pushed back farther, and then right here too. So this MetaHuman is kind of showing me that the interior of my mouth sculpture wasn't great. So next time I'll make sure to be a little more accurate with my sculpture, so I can see all my teeth and the inside of the mouth. All right, I'm gonna be done with that for now, though. I actually am pretty good with that. Oh, you know what I can do? With the bottom side, I can scale it in a little bit so we can see the teeth. Let's do that. I'm gonna hide the head again. Double click the bottom verts. Select a view of the verts on the bottom mouth, and then I'm just shift period to grow my selection. Alright. Again, I'll hit B for soft select. I've got symmetry on. I'm going to turn that off. So I'm scaling from the center. Alright, that's good. Let's just move it back a tad. Alright, yeah, that's better. That'll do for now too. This is a very stylized character, so I do want his teeth to be visible when he's animating, but I don't think he's going to be doing a lot of really big mouth animation stuff. Okay, so let's move on to the eyes. I'm going to save, and I'll be right back after I'm done saving. So we have a finished stylized face. It's animating. We are going to need to fix the blend shapes, and it's not gonna be as visible until I move the eyes. But when I do certain things like this blink and other eye movements, you're gonna see the eyes cutting through the eyelids cutting through the eyeball geometry. But we need to fix the eyes first of all, okay? And it's important that we do it in a certain way. They need to be rotating from their center, and they still need to be fully connected to this rig, okay? So if we were to just blend shape them into place, their center of their rotation for their joint is going to be back here, and it's just not going to work. They're going to, let's say I look to the left. I'm going to be looking to the left from the center of that. So we actually need to move the eye joint. And since I already have my Magneto character's eyes from the sculpture in the exact place I want them, I can use them as my guides. In the next customizing MetaHuman video series I show, I'll be showing you how to send your MetaHuman over to ZBrush and then work directly on that. And we send our MetaHuman eyes with. So whenever we're moving our eyelids, or we're changing our eye shape in any way, we scale and move the eyeballs so that we have them in an exact position. It just makes things way easier. But I have my sculpture, my eyes for my sculpture. So let's go ahead and show those. Say display show last, or show all, excuse me. I'm going to hide my control layer for now. Turn my NURBS curves off just so I don't have to see that. And these are the eyes I want, all right? So first we need to find the center of these eyes. I'm just going to hit Alt-H so that I isolate only these eyes. And I'm going to find the center by creating a rig, a very simple 3-bone rig. From this vert right here that is my front center to my back center, I'll snap to those verts, and then we'll create a bone exactly dead center. And then I can snap my MetaHuman skeleton right to that center bone. All right, so I'm going to go into rigging. I'm going to go into skeleton, create joints. Now, if I create a joint right now, I'm not going to see it because my show joints is off. So I want to show joints, and since I hid everything, there's nothing visible right now, so I don't see a cacophony of all of these massive rigs. Also want to turn wireframe on shaded right here, so I know what I'm looking at. And I know that if I hold V, I can snap to vertex. I'm going to hold V and snap. I know that's the center of my back. And then I'm going to hold V and snap to the center of my front. So I've got 2 joints. I'm looking at my translate x, and it's 2.445. So half of that is where I need to go. So we're going to have what, 1.227.2275. Okay, yeah, so 1.222 or 223 is, that's going to be accurate enough. So I'm going to go into my skeleton, and I'm going to say insert joints. I'm going to grab this and then just start dragging. And when I get around 1.2, now I'm just going to do 1.2225. Okay, so it's just going to say. Now, when I, no, and here's another issue. I can see my near clip plane is pretty far if I'm clipping. My camera is clipping through my geometry right now. I'm just going to go view, select camera, and go to my attribute editor. I'll set my near clip plane to 1. Now I can get a lot closer. If I need to get really close, I can set it to 0.1. Oh, did I just change the camera speed? Oh yeah, my camera scale, I think I changed my camera scale on accident, so then my camera was moving at like the speed of a fly. Okay, we're going to say 0.1 on our near clip, and there we go, we can get quite a lot closer. So when I moved this vert, it did move ever so slightly, move this front vert, so I can just hit W to move and then hold V and I'll snap to that vert. So now I have a joint that has an exact center of my eyeball. All right, it's also got the direction that the eyeball is looking. And I might keep my MetaHuman, the eyeball direction, we'll see. Yeah, when I snap my MetaHuman, the center of my MetaHuman eye here, I'm going to look at which way his iris is facing, his pupil is facing, and then. So I want this on the other side. Maya's my friend, so all I need to do is say skeleton, and I can just say mirror joints. And it's right over there. I'm just going to leave these very simply named joint 17, joint 23. That's fine. All right, so I'm going to just say display show all, and I'm going to see a bunch of joints. And I don't need any of my geometry right now. I want my eye joints for my MetaHuman, and I want to snap them to these joints. So I'm going to, now this is so much to look at. I totally get it, but you'll kind of get used to the MetaHuman skeleton after a while. I know right around here is my MetaHuman eye joint. And man, I got it on the first try. So it's going to be left eye parallel. All right, so let's just go into it, and then right. I mean, it's the joint just above that we want to move. So once I select it, it makes it so much easier to find. This is an insane list of bones. So when I select it, it's highlighted. The bone I'm looking for is this facial, this left eye, right? That's the bone. So it's the parent of that parallel. But okay, so if I'm looking at my MetaHuman, I can grab that one, and that's right eye parallel. So perfect. All right, so I have both of them. I'm going to control click joint 17. Oh, what just happened? Okay. Yeah. I just want to select all those joints. Make sure I've got my. Yes, so facial RI and facial LI. All right, now I'm going to hit Alt H. That's going to hide everything but my selection. Now, this is just my face root joint, right? It's going everywhere because it's connected to, it's the parent of a million joints. So it's still a little bit visually noisy, but once you realize that these all don't end anywhere, they're just kind of pointing, it's a little easier to navigate. Now that is going to be my parallel joint right here. I want to grab my left eye. Let's start with that one. Now if I try to move it right now, I hit my W key to move and I move, it's not going to move anywhere. You can see over here in my channel box, it's yellow. That means that it is constrained to something. Now the orient constraint is a must, otherwise we're breaking our rig. So the orient constraint is going to be its rotation. We have to keep that. But no part of the eye needs to actually move in any dimension. It only needs to rotate. So the translate constraints can be removed, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'll left click and drag over my translate X, Y, and Z. Then I'll right click and I can just say break connection. Right down here, break connection. So I'm not breaking the rig. I'm just saying you don't need your translate to be locked, to be connected to some kind of constraint. All right, so now I can grab. I'm ready to move, and if I kind of rotate around, I can see this is my joint chain that I created for my eye. So I'm just going to hold my V key to snap to vert, and there we go. Now I can snap this front, that's going to be where my eye is looking. I can snap that to my joint chain too, but like I said, it's going to orient the eye and have it looking. I'm going to just double check the eye and see if I like it in the MetaHuman, kind of the way the MetaHuman's looking. So let's do the exact same thing to our right eye. Okay, I've already got my translate X, Y, and Z selected. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say break connections, hold V to snap, and snap to that center vert. Alright, so now if I do a display show all, I'm going to have my MetaHuman eyes moved. Let's just hide these joints. And I'm going to turn wireframe unshaded off for a second. Okay, so that is my MetaHuman eye. It is in the right position. Now it's a little forward. I'm probably going to need to move it back. Yeah, I am. So let's grab our right eye joint and our left eye joint and move them back a touch. I feel like they need to be moved inward just a little bit too. Let's hit our 6 key to... Yeah, I want the pupil kind of at this high point, or not exactly, but a little closer to the center. And then I got this little bit of... So what, it's going to be, if I move... let's just grab one. Let's grab our left eye. If I just move our left eye, let's see. I'm only moving in my X. So I could just copy this value and put a negative on it. Yeah, I'll do that. I could also move my joint helpers, but let's go ahead and just copy the value once I get it to where I want it. Let's hide these guys too. I'm gonna say that's pretty darn close to where I want it. Maybe a little farther over. All right, so I'm going to just copy my translate X. That's where I moved. And let's grab RIR. Here. And now I'm going to keep the negative and just paste everything else. There we go. Yeah, that's looking about right. Something off about him. Here, he looks a little bit derpy. I am going to use my Magneto eye paint, so that might help. I'm going to add these. You know, I could just delete them too, but I'll keep them and add them to a display layer. And I'm going to just drop that down. You know, sometimes I like to put a display layer all the way at the bottom, especially if it's something that I'm usually going to have hidden. Okay. That'll do. All right. Okay. So let's just check our rig to see. I'm going to go back into my 5 mode. And let's hide those Magneto eyes. So I'm going to show my control layer. And let's do some eye test stuff. Okay, so you can see that I'm getting some really crazy penetration here with the eyeball. When I look down, I have a feeling it's going to be the same when I blink. Yes, I'm getting some penetration of geometry when I blink. I'm getting some when I look down. Those are usually the cases where I'm getting it too. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how to fix those blend shapes so that everything animates properly. Okay, we're going to fix the eyes. We'll have a look at the mouth too and see if we need to fix anything there. We're going to fix the mouth too. Just this issue right here, I don't like. If I move these vertices, if you remember, we had with these sculpting tools, we had the delta blend shape. Yeah, well, I'll show you exactly. And then we had our regular blend shape. And our delta was to offset for the vertices being moved with the bones. Save, and I'll be back. So they get a double transform is basically what happens if you move them with bones and then a blend shape. So you've got to create a delta. So if we move vertices right now, I've had it get really weird. So we're actually going to have to use Maya's sculpting tools to edit these blend shapes. Don't ask me why it thinks it's something different, but it works. So that's what I've been using. So I'm going to go into animation editors. We're going to go to our shape editor, and we are going to let's work on the right eye first. So let's fix this blink. That should be relatively easy. So we've got this inner penetration on the eyelid. I'm going to click. First, I'm going to go down in my stack, and I'm going to see that one of these is at 100% or 1. And there it is. Okay, we've got 2. We've got, oh, those are my deltas. Let's go. Oh, let's go a little slower. Must have been all the way at the top. There it is. All right, so it's eye blink R, which is perfect. That's exactly what I want to affect. Now I need to turn on editing, so I'm able to edit it. it says already connected to head. Yes. Oh, there we go. Edit. Sorry. Okay, so editing is enabled. I'm going to click my mesh. I'm just going to put my shape editor on another window for now. And let's go ahead and go to our sculpting tools. And we've got our pull, we've got our smooth, we've got our lift. So we've got all these different fun little guys. Inflate. And then I can actually freeze areas, which this is going to come in handy when I want to move, say, the upper eyelid and I want to freeze the lower eyelid. That is going to come in handy. We are definitely going to use that. So I'm going to use my pull, okay, and I'm just going to rotate around. Make sure I don't have symmetry on. And we're just going to pull these verts out until it's no longer interpenetrating. Another thing I can do, so I actually do want to freeze that top set of geometry, maybe. That's being pretty friendly, and so this is one thing that it does, that Maya does, which I like, is once you touch a set of vertices, it will kind of freeze everything else and allow you to just grab those verts. So, you know, I can kind of avoid. Now, if I hold shift, I can smooth, which I do want to do, and then let's just bring this out a little bit more. And the top eyelid where we've got that kind of double fold too, that looks a little bit weird. So if I want to change my brush size, excuse me, I can hold B and left click and drag to the left or right. If I drag to the left, it gets smaller, right, it gets larger. So I'm going to hold shift and just smooth that out too. It looks a little funky. It's much more natural looking. Now I do kind of want the that bulge in the center where our iris would be. Yeah, that's looking pretty natural. I don't like this interpenetration of geometry though, so I'm going to, now I'm in my other, I'm looking at my shape editor, so I've got it on another window, but I can, oh sorry, I need to hit Q to go into select mode. Got to hit it a few times sometimes. Another thing, I've had Maya crash on me running this sculpt operation with my edit blend shapes on. So something I recommend is just to save often. And I'm going to save a new version in just a second, but I can not slide that. Excuse me, I guess the only way I can drive it is here. So let's get to right around there. Oh, and we can see some interpenetration, which I need to fix right here too. But I'm going to open it all the way for now, and I'm going to grab this mesh, and I'm going to use my freeze. All right. Now, if I want to go into my freeze options, I can double click right. I double clicked right here just to let you know. So I'm opening up my tool options. So here's my size, my strength. I could flood the entire object and freeze it, and then maybe unfreeze this if I'd like. There's this double eyelid, so that's going to be a harder area to paint. So I feel like if I just paint the freezing, um, it will work. Now I can hit invert, and that will unfreeze whatever I want. So let's just go in here and just freeze these verts. And I think I want to move these eyes back a little bit. I think I'm going to do that in just a second. And the good thing is I've got a center of rotation so that we had built previously, so I can move both of them backwards simultaneously, and it should be fairly easy. All right, so those should be frozen. So now I can go to my pull again. I'm just going to close this tool settings. And let's go. I just hit Q to go to select mode. Go W to move, and let's get it to right there. Let's, oh, you know, I actually need to pull both lids out. But let me move that eyeball first, actually. And I should have done that before I did any of this, honestly. So I'm going to move and smooth, okay? And I want to grab this. There we go. So I want to grab, so the actual eyelid is over the eyeball. That's what I'm looking for. Perfect. And I'll smooth just for just a little bit and then pull it back out again, just so we've got nice even topology. That's looking much better. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to go ahead and save. So I just saved a new version just in case. You know, I like to save quite a few versions. It's always a bummer to lose a half an hour or more of work. All right. So let's move these eyes back. I need to show my joints. And let's just grab, if you remember, it was, it's like, it's so hard to see. And I want to hide these two joint chains. I want to hide them just so I don't grab them too. Let's hide them, and I'll grab this guy, and that's going to be parallel eye. Perfect. So that should be, let's expand this joint chain. All right. And, you know, once I've selected something, it'll be highlighted in my outliner, which is great. That makes it easier to find. So I'm going to grab facial eye, L, and then we need to do the same thing with R. So let's just zoom out a little bit so we can kind of get our bearings here. That is perfect parallel. So I'm going to, there we go. And now I can move both of these forward. Sorry, backwards. And I just want to do it a touch. Let's go ahead and hide our joints again. Now I've got them, I still have them selected, but I've got them hidden so I can move and really get, oh, that's perfect. That's exactly where I want it. Okay, much better. And maybe let's just try. Yeah, I like that. Just a little bit farther back. Look in here. Okay, that works. So let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to save. I'm not going to save a new version. I'll just save. All right, so let's get back to sculpting. I do still have my shape editor open with edit on to my iBlink R. And I still have that piece of geometry frozen. So let's unfreeze this lower eyelid, and I've got the upper eyelid where I want it. So, you know, I could even, let's just double click this. I can invert, and let's see if I flood. Will it just? I'm hoping it'll just freeze everything but this lower eyelid. So let's go to grab. No, it flooded everything. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna go to my. So let's unfreeze all. Oh, it was invert frozen. That's what I wanted to do. Doggone it. Oh well. You know, I think I can just grab this without. Fortunately, Maya's very friendly when it comes to grabbing geometry and not grabbing other pieces of geometry. Except right there. Okay, I'm gonna smooth this again. There we go. I'm gonna go down a brush size and just try and pull this. Perfect, perfect. Okay, that is looking much better. Let's just go through the progression. And so I hit Q to go into my save mode, or I mean my select mode. Oh, all right. So me doing that extra work on the mid looks like it completely stretched out the end. So it's a good thing I checked. So I'm going to go right here and let's freeze. Let's freeze this lower eye area. I'm just painting. You know, I wish it showed. You know, it might show frozen mask. Interesting. I've got it. Oh, the color is black. That's why is everything changing color though? Interesting. Okay. Let's try to. And for the sake of this tutorial and you not watching me do this for an hour, I'm going to do the rest of this after I fix this eye, and then I'll come back and show you the body. So the same principles go for everything. Test out your animation controls. If they're not looking good, use your sculpting tools and make sure that you are editing. Make sure you're editing the right blend shape. So, you know, activate the blend shape, go down and find it where it's at 100%. Go into edit. You know, sometimes it'll be two blend shapes, so you need to figure out which one you want to edit, or you might have to edit both um, at different times because you can only edit one at a time. One thing I've done before, which is really frustrating, is have the wrong edit selected and working on the wrong side of the face. And so I've had to go back and work with a lot of, you know, go back to a previous save because I was working on IL when I should have been, you know, had IR as my edit. So just try and pay attention to that stuff because it can be really frustrating to accidentally fix the wrong side of the face. All right, so I'm going to grab this and I'm going to smooth it. And it looks like this part of the geometry must have gotten frozen. I was a little bit lazy with that paint job. I'm going to click invert now, and that's going to unfreeze. And I just want to get this spot right here. Okay, but I am grabbing these verts down here, so let's go ahead and oops, go to freeze, turn invert back off, so I'm actually freezing verts. And here we go. Alright, now of course I want this to be overlapping, so let's bring it all out. And it also does not have to be that far down. Now these eyelids just kind of touch each other. So I'm going to move this geometry, and it is moving some verts in a kind of weird way, so I can hit smooth, and that's going to really help me out here. So again, I'm just holding shift. It's just like if we were in ZBrush. And you know, I honestly find this kind of fun. There's a level of sculpture to this. It's like cleaning up these blend shapes. I don't know, something odd about how it's like Zen. You know, it's like getting to do the dishes or sweep. Something kind of enjoyable about the simplicity of it. Let's go ahead and pull this up a little bit more. Okay, I'm thinking that looks pretty good. And you know, blinks are pretty fast too, so yeah, that's not bad. Maybe smooth it just a little bit more here. And then I'm going to go ahead and go into my freeze, and I'm going to unfreeze all. And now when I use my smooth, I'm going to get some better results down here by the tear duct. Just smoothing that back a little. Okay. I think that's good enough for now. Now there is a little bit of a buildup of form over here, which looks odd. And we want that buildup right in the middle of the eye. Oh, and I can see, looks like there's a little gap here too. Yeah, something like that. There we go. Much better. All right, so I'm going to save. And I'm going to continue this process and refine all of the blend shapes. You know what, let me just do one more extreme one, or at least show you how I would go about it, because the blink is a little bit simplistic. Let's do one of those look down left and right ones, just to show you how I'd clean that up. Alright, so let's set our blink back to 0. I'm going to go into make sure I turn my edit mode off on that, right? Just so I'm not editing anything I don't want to. And let's do a look down and left. Alright, so we need to edit and fix both of these look down and lefts. So look down and left right, and look down and left left. So we'll find those here. Look, I've got I look down left, I look down right. I've also got I look right, or I look left, I look right, and I look down, look right, look left, or look left, look right. All right, so there's a couple of them going on. Now, I want to fix this one right here. This is the look down and look left or look right. I mean, it's all look right, but it's the left and right side. So this is the one I want to edit. And we're going to do the right eye first, which will be this guy. So the right eye first. Okay. Actually, you know, let's do the left eye first because it's the most extreme. Look right, left. That's the one we want to grab. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our move brush, pull this geometry out. Smooth it. But let's get our eyelid. There we go. Yeah, we want our eyelid outside of that geometry. And we don't want to wave. There we go. Alright, and then this part of the eye, oops, hit spacebar. I'm going to scale this down. Now the lower eyelid is doing some really odd stuff, so I don't want it all the way down there. So let's go ahead and let's freeze. Yeah, so the top eyelid looks pretty good. You just need to get that lower eyelid fixed because it wouldn't expose your entire eyeball. That would be tremendously creepy. So I've got it all the way down in the bottom left corner, which if I was facing his way would be his bottom right. That's why it's look down right. Yeah. So let's just set that back to 0 for a second. And let's paint. And let's freeze it. So I'm actually going to paint this lower eyelid frozen. Then I'll just invert. Okay. So let's drop it all the way down to our left, which will cause him to look down to the right. Let's go to our freeze. Here, I'll move this shape editor to my other monitor. And let's invert frozen. Now we can grab our trusty dusty brush here and just work on this part. We just want to bring this geometry up, smooth it out. Okay, that works. That doesn't look too bad. It's still covering some of the eyeball. So let's test it out now. Alright, so when he looks left, we're still getting some penetration, but as I look down to the right, we're good. Okay, and you can see up to the right, the eyelid loses the eyeball. It leaves it. So we'll fix that. I would just go through and fix all of these, right? Go through all of your ranges of motion, find areas that have errors, and fix them like this. And once you're done, your animation is going to look incredible. It'll be really dialed into your face shape. So I'm going to keep on working on this, and I'll be back when I'm done, and we'll start applying the body skeleton. So we'll start moving the joints into place and transfer the weights. All right, so we have got all of the blend shapes taken care of. I like what I'm seeing. The way he's looking, the eyes aren't looking too crazy. I could be a little more precise with this if I wanted to. For the sake of this demo, I'm not going to, but these eyelid folds could be a little bit better. That's okay. I'm not going to go completely perfect on this. But how detailed you go on all of this is completely up to you. So if you're feeling like you want to get something perfect. One thing I also did was this lip, the corner of my mouth seemed a little bit pinched. So I went in and used the inflate brush and then smoothed it out so it wasn't so, it was like just really thin. So there we go. If you're ever in a position where you have some really extreme movements on vertices that have nothing to do with that blend shape, I had an issue where my look up was causing verts in my nose to move, and then verts in my ears too. I have no idea why. I think I must have done something accidentally. But what I did is I made sure I was in. Actually, no, I don't even think I don't think I need to be in edit mode for this blend shape. What I need to do is go to deform, and in paint weights you can paint blend shape weights. So you can see I painted out. This is my eye lookup L. Black means that the blend shape has no weight. So my eye lookup L and R, I just painted it out. I know that my lookup doesn't move these verts. Sometimes if like on the open mouth, you'll see verts move in the temple. But for my lookup, I knew that it's not going to be moving anything down here in the eye. So instead of trying to smooth it and recapture the resting position of my character's face, I just used my paint weights for my blend shape and painted the blend shape to 0 on that. So that's a nice trick if you find yourself in a position where something is really off and you know that those verts aren't going to be used in that blend shape, you can go ahead and just paint them to 0. Yeah, so for example, let's see. If I wanted it to be a little more perfect, I would have kept this volume a little, I would have preserved that volume a little better on the lookup. And then the look down, it would have bulged out right there. But I'm going to continue on. Let's go ahead and call that done, and let's show our Magneto suit. Okay. Now, another thing you might notice, if you see all of this black banding, it's not actually overlapping geometry. It's a display issue. If I select my camera and I go to my attribute editor, my near clip plane is just really low. If I set that to something like 1, you'll see that banding disappear. But then the closer I get, the 1's still great. So I don't need it at 0.01, and I don't like seeing that banding, so I'm just going to leave it my near clip plane at 1. But if you've got your near clip plane at a higher level and you're still seeing that, it might be because you've got 2 faces that are sitting on top of each other. It's usually what that means.